been such a wonderful day so far.
That's what we use. Oh, it's great. It's fantastic. The weather is unbelievable.
No, hanging out with you guys? This is awesome.
You sure?
Absolutely.
Are you sure? You're not kidding now.
I'd do this again.
Oh, you know, you could do this every day. Not every day, probably, but you could do it for,
you see,
probably for a month.
The option was over to the right, and I'm so happy here.
Old time trolley?
I'm more happy here.
No, you don't want to do that.
No.
First of all the tour guides look like they just got out of prison. That's the first sign of trouble. Well, you can't beat. Look at what we're riding around in, and it's just so convenient. Look at all the territory we've covered.
So awesome.
So here's the FAA in the front.
Do we have to go back?
Go back where? What? Something?
He's looking for his wallet.
Oh no.
It's right here somewhere.
And you want to look in the car first?
I'm just sitting on that register.
Here, we'll pull over.
Here, I'm calling it.
Your phone's with your wallet?
Your phone is with your wallet.
So we find your phone, we find your wallet.
Oh, no, we got it.
You got it, thank God.
Alright.
Here's the energy department on the left.
On the left?
This is Smithsonian Museum number 2. This opened in 1879. It's a museum devoted to the Industrial Revolution. It's absolutely unbelievable. Like cutting-edge industrial equipment, agricultural equipment, all of it brand new from the middle of the steam age. I mean, it's amazing.
Yeah.
Here's number 1. This opened in 1855. That building was like a castle.
Wow.
So we passed the Smithsonian Museum of African Art. Here's the Smithsonian Museum of Asian Art. Here's the Freer Gallery of Asian Art. I mean, art galleries and museums are an industry in Washington. And most of them are free.
Is this Smithsonian?
The Freer here is the there are 19 Smithsonian museums. And there are other museums too, I mean, but that are privately owned and charge an admission, but it's kind of nominal when you consider what's in some of these things. But all the Smithsonian museums are free.
We're gonna go in.
And some of the other ones, like the Freer here, is free.
The Masonic Temple of George Washington.
The Masonic Temple, that's in Alexandria.
Yeah, we were there.
$15 a person.
Isn't that weird?
Yeah, $15.
Well, you know.
Now, if you're a Mason, it's only $13.50.
Is that right?
No.
Is that right?
No.
This is the Department of Agriculture. We had a request one time for a Masonic tour of Washington. Gil did it. Yeah, Gil is totally into it. All these Masonic symbols that are kind of woven into the architecture of the city and the layout of the city, it's amazing, actually.
I still don't get what they are.
It's like a Rotary Club.
Why are they trying to be all secret?
Well, they're not. I mean, you join. I mean, it's not that public, I guess, but they started out as a labor union, basically, guys that would build cathedrals and stuff. And it was an apprentice program. You joined and they taught you how to build a church so it wouldn't fall over in the Middle Ages. Then it became just like the Rotary Club. Or a fraternity, that's more like, that's a better example, with secret handshakes and this kind of thing. It's like a fraternity. So we're parallel, as you can tell here, to the mall. There's the Smithsonian Museum of African American Culture and History and Culture, I should say. On the right there, that's Smithsonian Museum number 19. That's the latest Smithsonian Museum. And here is the Washington Monument, obviously. But when the Washington Monument opened in 1888, that was the tallest man-made structure on the face of the earth for about a year and a half. And a year and a half later, in 1889, to celebrate the 100th anniversary of the French Revolution, the Eiffel Tower was unveiled. It's about twice the height of the Washington Monument, knocked that out of first place. This is the Holocaust Museum that we're passing. This is the Bureau of Engraving and Printing, where U.S. currency is manufactured. That's pretty interesting. That's pretty interesting. and it smells like money. They got barrels of this ink. You walk in there, you go, I feel good. I'm feeling good. So here is this body of water here is the tidal basin, surrounded by Washington's famous cherry trees, which were blooming about a week and a half ago.
Oh, there's the cherry trees.
They were blooming.
Yep, and some of them still are. Here's something here.
What do you mean it's already over?
It's over. Oh yeah. There was a very warm winter. Normally they would be out like around now, maybe, or like a little bit before now. But yeah, there was a very warm winter. They started appearing in February, and then they got cold, and then they stopped, and it got warm, then it got cold. And they were, by the time they came out, they were freaking out. Here's some cherry trees.
Yeah.
There are domestic cherry trees, and these are the ones around the tidal basin are Japanese. These are, locally bred cherry trees.
All over the hills. I didn't know that.
There are cherry trees all over the place here. All different kinds. The ones here, the ones around the tidal basin they're like mutant cherry trees. They don't bear fruit.
I don't know what they are.
They have no idea what they are.
You're the transgender here.
Oh God, don't go there.
So we're about to leave Washington, D.C. to what is essentially a political version of Texas here. And crossing the Potomac River, and there is Memorial Bridge on the right, and beyond that, where the tall buildings are, is Roslyn, Virginia. This is Arlington Cemetery over here. What looks like a forest is Arlington. And we're going to get a good look at that in a minute.
Where did the Real Housewives of the Potomac live?
The real well, there's a town called Potomac.
The bottom is their current.
No, there's a town called Potomac where I guess they live. I knew a guy, and he and his wife were in that. This guy's a photographer at the Washington Post. And the producers encouraged the two of them to have an argument just for dramatic purposes.
Sure.
And it got real, and they got divorced.
Are you kidding?
I'm not kidding. I'm not kidding.
Yeah, but they probably made a lot of money.
Well, I think that they probably were inclined to not like each other to start with, maybe to some extent. I don't know. But
Are they on the show?
I don't think anymore. I think it was called the Real Housewives of Washington or something like that. It wasn't
that
Potomac.
one. Yeah.
What's this large building on the right?
What do you think it is?
Is that the
This is the Pentagon.
Oh,
This is the Pentagon. This is the headquarters of the Defense Department. Look, this I think is more interesting in some ways. Look,
Boeing.
McDonnell Douglas, Boeing,
Yeah.
Lockheed.
Yeah.
All the sellers of weaponry and defense equipment, etc., are over here. Plus, over on the other side, there's another community of defense consulting firms and stuff like that. But this is the headquarters of the Defense Department. So the Secretary of Defense is in here, and all that implies. The headquarters of the Joint Chiefs of Staff of the Army, the Navy, the Air Force, and the Marines. The Coast Guard is is part of the Department of Homeland Security now. And we're going to head up to the Air Force Memorial here. But the plane that hit the Pentagon crashed into the side that's not visible to us right now, but it's going to come into view in a second here. But the plane that hit the Pentagon took off from Dulles Airport, which is about 20 miles west of here, with 64 people on board. Look at there's where we were earlier. See the Russian embassy and National Cathedral up on the hill there? But it takes off for San Francisco, gets hijacked over Ohio and comes back, makes a U-turn and comes back. 64 people on board, plus terrorists, and comes flying.
Surprised they didn't shoot it down before it got
Yeah, well, I'm sure they would have. I think the one in Pennsylvania was shot down. I was up there about a year later in Shanksville, Pennsylvania, doing Shanksville a year after, that one of those kinds of stories. And some guy that I was talking to suggested I talk to some other guy, and he said he swears up and down it was shot down. He saw it.
Really?
And I said, "Are you kidding me?" And I talked to. Well, I mean, maybe they did. I don't know. I mean, nobody
that can tell.
Nobody can tell. I mean, it makes a great story. Let's roll.
What did this guy think he heard a shot?
Well, no, he didn't think. He said he saw. He saw a missile hit the plane.
Oh.
And he said he had friends, and I said, let's go see them. So we went and saw a few, and they saw the same thing. And,
that one was heading towards the White House.
Yeah.
Well, that one, who knows? Yeah, that one could have caused serious damage.
Yeah.
But you couldn't see you can't see the White House, really, because it's covered in trees at that time of year. You can see the Capitol, you can see the Pentagon. But I think hitting the White House going 600 miles an hour, a little thing like the White House, that would be difficult. The Pentagon is like the biggest target you can imagine. But you know, the guy who was flying, I mean, this is fairly amazing. If he had continued flying the contour he was flying over when he was flying over Arlington, he'd have gone right over the Pentagon. At the last minute, it drops down about 300 feet. And he did that, and boom, direct hit like a strike in bowling or something.
Yeah, we had relatives flying that day. They were flying out of New York.
Well, I guess, yeah. People were renting cars and getting dropped off and really... Because all the planes had to land, remember?
Right.
So people were just desperate to get wherever they wanted to go. But the view from up here is amazing. Thank you, Shay.